I'm really excited about this because I have had the opportunity not only to work with Meghan as a client, but also to get to know her as a woman and as a friend. And she has gone through so many things in her life. She has built so many amazing businesses. She's built connections. And the way that she carries herself throughout all of this is something that is not only courageous, it takes so much heart, so much grit. And so today, what I'm really hoping to do is to give her the space to really talk about her story. And so I'd love for you to start by really setting the scene for anyone meeting you for the first time. You spent over 20 years placing top leaders, shaping careers, and now building CONCÉ. So give us the Meghan Houle story. Who are you? What have you built? And what opportunity did you see that made you want to enter the tech space?
Yes. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. As Cris was saying, I have spent over 2 decades hiring, recruiting, and building multi-million-dollar teams across luxury fashion brands, beauty, wellness, walk up and down Fifth Avenue, go down Madison Ave. At some point, most or all have been my clients, some icon beauty founder clients. So really, my entire life, as I really look at it, starting early on hiring for teams inside of Louis Vuitton, working with LVMH, I've always been in service.
I've never heard of them.
Oh, really? And no, I don't have a discount anymore.
I was going to say, don't ask my husband. I would say, I've never heard of those brands.
Literally, like the only thing anyone cared about during my time at Vuitton was like, can I get your discount? I'm like, no, I can't even get a discount. So, being in service of others is something that I was always called to do. And, for the past 15 years in my agency, where, we've had incredible success, placed over 2,000 people. I don't know if anybody in here has ever actively looked for a job, or maybe you're a founder or a business owner that's looking to hire. But y'all, it's broken. People are tired. And to see something that has been broken for so many years. If you think about, I think in 2016, LinkedIn sold to Microsoft for $26 billion, right? Like the innovation of technology in the hiring and recruiting space hasn't been disrupted in a big way in decades. And we are still making $1 million hiring decisions off of 1990s tech and outdated mindsets, and quite frankly, a lot of bias. And to have an opportunity for decades to be a voice, to advocate for somebody. So as a recruiter, if I'm working with someone, I'm putting my name behind them. I'm going in front of a hiring manager, a CEO, in 2 words that have made me a lot of money, trust me. Where, these paper resumes, as Cris knows, the resume is dead. CONCÉ is gonna reimagine what a piece of paper looks like. It's 2026. But, I think the advocacy of the reputation that I've built is truly because it comes from a place that I just want people to feel the best that they can professionally. I want the companies to hire and have access to the best talent. And the problem that we're facing today is everything is about the masses, the noise. You go to apply for jobs, there's hundreds of people that apply for these jobs. 75% of people that actually apply to jobs have no qualifications to do so. So you're missing out on talent, you're missing out on access, people are tired, you're making decisions on outdated resources, and I saw a white space to be like, oh wow, I've been hiring since I had a job in the mall. Remember the malls? I feel like they're coming back. Where, I've always felt this career clairvoyancy that I am like a career matchmaker. And now we're putting into a tech platform because it's not why me, it's why not me. And the moat that is standing behind this tech platform is coming from decades of seeing how broken it is and how we really have a chance to reimagine the hiring and recruiting process on both sides.
Okay, who can feel the passion? Let's give it up. Come on.
Aw, thanks, guys.
And I think that as a founder building something, especially in tech, navigating that world is a challenge in so many ways, and you do it gracefully, and I know that there's ups and there's downs. What keeps you going? Where is this passion really coming from? Is there something that motivates you? What's the mission behind all of this?
Yeah, I mean, because, you think about two industries truly that are, recession proof, however you want to, future proof. Hiring, recruiting, that's never going away. As you think about CONCÉ, where we're going to start to solve the problems is in luxury fashion and these upper echelon. Guys, I was at Cartier like 2 weeks ago. There was like a 2-hour wait. I'm like, okay, are we struggling? Like, I don't know. And I think there's a top tier, coming from fashion and going through recessions and COVID and all the things that we did, that it's like people are, jobs, there are livelihoods. Whether you're a founder, whether you're corporate, whatever your journey is. And for me, what keeps me going is to be able to make people, like I was saying, feel so confident in themselves professionally, be able to find that professional voice. I spent so many years in corporate, as I was saying, working for Louis Vuitton, almost operating like a little robot. It's like, do this, say this, wear this, don't say that. I remember getting a visit from Paris, and they're like, we're gonna need you to have to like turn down the energy a little bit, okay? Whereas like,
how dare they?
You don't want me to be like, bonjour, comment allez-vous, je m'appelle Meghan. And I think for me, there is this relentless pursuit of knowing that we deserve better. Women deserve better. We need better access. We need better access to capital. I mean, don't even get me started on fundraising, but even in our salaries and how we negotiate that. So for me, I'm just so passionate about this space. I love hiring. I love helping people navigate job search on both sides. So honestly, that's what keeps me going, because it's never going away. And imagine creating a room, like I know you do on your side, where you allow people to harness that voice and that confidence. You guys, you're unstoppable. Unstoppable. So here we are.
You can change the world if you have something to say and you know how to say it. I mean, that's how you make an impact. But I want to talk a little bit about people and the instincts that you've built around people and how they're navigating their jobs throughout all of your years. What has your experience in recruiting taught you about people, and how has that shaped the way that you lead?
Yeah, I mean, and this applies to like so many areas of life. But when people show you who they really are, you have to believe them.
Yes. Yeah. They're leaving the receipt right there,
And I think for so many situations where, on so many sides, so say in terms of recruiting, we get these CEOs that are hired because they look perfect on paper. They have the perfect trajectory. They say all of the right things. And you hire them into the organization, and day one, you're like, excuse me? Like, who is this person here? Like, we want a refund, please? And these are people that are continuing to get opportunities. On the flip side of it, where I come in a lot of times is like you have these amazing outside of the box people that come from other industries that have the most amazing transferable skills that you put in front of clients, and like, oh, I don't really get their resume. I don't know. They don't have the trajectory. Again, trust me. But some of those people that I've hired, by saying trust me, have become some of the most transformational leaders. So I think that, you have to want to see the best in people, but you guys, you also have to take those signals. And I think, for as much clairvoyancy I have and, that human connection, sometimes you can get duped. And you don't want to be a pessimist and lose trust. But at the end of the day, if your gut is continuing to say, maybe they're not the right hire, maybe not the right person to get into business with, you really have to listen to it, and you really have to trust yourselves. And I think sometimes we second guess ourselves to death, and you're like, oh, this is fine, that person's good enough. And it's like, it's not. We deserve so much better than good enough. So I think it feels cliche of like, trust your gut. But people will show you who they really are, and you guys believe them, because that stuff is hardwired. You're not going to change, just like the bad boyfriend relationship. I mean, let's work through all the topics today. It's just going to be Cris and I for the rest
about
of the
navigating
day.
relationships. We're going to be laughing. We're going to be crying. Welcome to the show.
Netflix, where's our show already? It's coming. It's coming.
Well, you talk a lot about pivots and that being a part of your journey. Was there a moment where your perspective shifted and you realized you needed to become much more intentional about who you were allowing into your ecosystem?
Yeah, building a tech company for 2 years and flushing a lot of your own capital into building this and this delusional idea that you can take on LinkedIn, and we're not really taking them on, we're doing it much better. But that type, amen.
Right?
That type of delusion, takes this confidence to be able to say, like, no matter what, I'm going to get this done. And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to run through fire. And it's going to happen. And this energy is extremely authentic. Cris will, vouch for me, where when people shine really bright, there's always a lot of people that really want to be close to that sun. But there's a lot of people that are up in that sun, not wearing sunscreen, and they're getting burned because they just want to be in your orbit. And you're like, So I had to learn, and this really came out of COVID, because as a recruiter, when I was, there's the stipulation of recruiters help people get jobs. They don't. Recruiters work for companies. When we have a job for you, we'll call you, period. So, there was this like, Meghan, can you help me? Can I have your time? I mean, maybe all of you guys get tagged once in a while of like, can I pick your brain? Can I do this? And for so many years, I'm like, sure, yes. And I was drained. My energy was drained, and you have to make sure, especially now in this journey of fundraising, that can't be so. Flip that script of when you start paying people in your business where you are trustworthy, you want to see the best in people. People are selling you this big dream of like, I can work with you and do all these transformations in your business. And you go in and unfortunately you make mistakes where, you can waste a lot of capital on people that unfortunately don't deliver for you. So, I think that it flexed me in a way where I still trust, but I have to trust myself more. And, I have really become even more guarded of like who you let into that ecosystem, because our access is not for everybody, guys, like for everybody in this room. Whether you have the friend that texts you at all hours of the night and it's always about them and negativity, it's like, I've really tried to be more intentional of who I let in, and then also like who's working with me in my business. Because again, one bad hire, either you're burning cash or you're upsetting your internal ecosystem, and it can take a long time to reset with some of those bad people coming in. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so many of us, I'm sure, and by a show of hands, please, how often do we break our own rules and kind of overextend our boundaries to say yes to things that maybe we need a little break from, or we need to protect our energy from? And I think we're all trying to navigate those boundaries, and it's hard, and we want to make impact in the world. We want to say yes, we want to help others, we want to give back, and you have to remember to give back to yourself. And we'll be the first ones to say, like, put your own mask on, and then we'll forget about us. And so I think it's a really big challenge that we almost have to like bring up and remind ourselves. It's like, look in the mirror and just say, today you will have boundaries, because we don't often remember. My sister gave me like a backhanded compliment. When I didn't answer one of her phone calls, one of her 20 phone calls, I love how you're suddenly like putting out boundaries. I'm like, yeah, But it's hard to do that, and people might not expect that from you. And so they kind of get, oh my gosh, she's saying no to something, or she's maybe sending me her link to book time. Wow, why? But you want to know something, the people that really want to get to you, the people that respect your time, the people that value you, they'll understand. And so we have to remind ourselves of that.
Yeah, and I think a hard lesson as a type A firstborn Virgo people pleaser is the fact that there's a lot going on here, that you don't want to disappoint anyone. And I think that's the disappointment. But I have had to learn in this journey that my job is not to be liked by everybody. And I think once you come to terms with the fact that not everyone's going to like you, And there's probably going to be people that start saying crazy stuff about what you're doing. You build up that mental toughness. You protect that energy. You protect your calendar. But that, I think, was like a really other, big lesson to learn is like, it's okay to disappoint people.
Yeah. And I think what I'd love for you to share is a little bit, and maybe more tactically, on how you separate being let down by others from learning to trust yourself differently. Because I think so many of us are navigating it, and like there's I don't know if we can get a little specific with like an example of something you're starting to do. How are you really starting to separate those two things so that you don't let disappointment be the star of the show?
Yeah, I think especially as it applies to building my tech company, again, I get pitched all the time for people to work with me and work with the services. Clear, specific, direct contracts, communications, milestones, anyone that I'm bringing into my business now, it's not just like on a whimsy and a handshake of like, that sounds great, and then you have all these people that don't really have clear and specific guidelines, deadlines, deliverables. You're paying them, but I'm just like, what are you doing for me? Kind of sitting in this center of before I jump on a call, before I sign a contract, doing your diligence. Like the current state of the world right now, we're not necessarily rewarding potential anymore. We're actually rewarding proof. And show us what you got, and I think this still applies to navigating job search. A lot of my clients are having individuals doing small projects or, show us your portfolio. And it's not like, I can do it and I'm going to, do all these things in your business. Okay, great. Like, how have you done it before? Yeah. And if someone's pushing back on like giving you a reference or, again, like the deadlines are unclear and there's just a muddiness, like I have become like laser tight with like contracts to the point like my lawyer's like, girl, no. Like, you ain't no Harvey Specter, okay? Like, we love suits. We're just going to say that.
Suits.
And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, there's got, so I think that it's so important. It's so important to just have clear, direct communication on both sides always. And I think like those were some of the early missteps, where unfortunately, things weren't laid out as clearly and, things happen and you kind of move on. But if we can mitigate that early on, it's super important. Yeah.
Is there a specific light bulb moment where your mindset kind of shifted from why is this happening to me to what is this trying to teach me?
Yeah, with any bad situation or otherwise, you always leave with two things. You leave with a wound or you leave with wisdom. I am always in a mindset growing up in a family that was very scarcity, victim focused of like, I always see it's like, how is this actually happening for me? So, for contracts that fell through, for an investor that said no, for a client that didn't want to use a platform, that only continues to light a fire inside of me even more so to be like, maybe I wasn't as clear, or maybe that wasn't an aligned client, or maybe I do need to update my pitch deck. So for me, it's all mindset, Cris. We can sit every day, and I've had those crash out moments where it's like, nothing good is happening to me. And you sit on Instagram and you compare yourself to everyone and how their journeys are going, but like, it's okay to build differently. It's okay to do something differently. It's okay to be your first in the family that is doing something that nobody understands why you're doing it and actually what you do for a job. But as long as you don't give up on you, that's what certainly has kept me going, because I know, who I am and what I'm looking to bring in the world and to do good and to be a good human. And that's what I'm all about, girl,
And your career and frankly your success have been built on intuition. After a difficult experience, how did you continue trusting your instincts without becoming guarded or leading from fear? Because I think sometimes when we don't trust our gut and we ignore it and we push it down, the gut gets like weaker and weaker and suddenly we can't hear it. And so we need to start to trust it again so that the voice gets a little bit louder and louder. How did you navigate that?
Yeah, I think it's sitting in the mistakes and actually recognizing and having a self-awareness moment that I probably could have done something differently. And again, being okay to fail. Like growing up in corporate America, that wasn't really an option, right? Like if you weren't making sales, if you weren't doing this, there was so much shame that went behind that. And now it's like, okay, that didn't work out. And you kind of just have to sometimes give yourself a day, rather than push through. I'm like a suffer in silence, in terms of making sure that, again, your mindset is protected, that you're not jeopardizing your mental health, your actual physical health. Feel the feels, be upset about it, but like move on, and I think for so long, I let things just fester and complain and sit with me. And it's just like, you got to move on. If you can't change it, you got to move on. So, yeah.
And what was the quality that you kind of consciously decided you weren't going to lose about yourself in this process? Because I think sometimes we second guess ourselves and then we think, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this or maybe I shouldn't act this way. And you were giving kind of the example before about how at certain places where you worked, even in your earlier stages of your career, it was like, oh, don't be the Meghan Houle that you are. But what did you decide very intentionally to keep about yourself in this process?
The optimism. I think that for me, being able to be delusionally optimistic, but hardened a little bit, like hardened to the sense of I have built, I would say, a little bit bigger of an armor, that is the self-awareness moment that I'm really proud of, that I've created, where I'm not saying yes to everything. I'm not saying yes to everyone. But I don't ever want to lose optimism. I don't want to lose optimism that there are good people out there. There are people that want the best for you. There are people that want to work for you. There are people that see value in you. And I think, again, it's so easy to go into these dark moments where it's just like, everyone's terrible. What am I doing this for? I'm burning it all down. But, just staying so optimistic, true to myself, and continue to see the good in people, because there are a lot of great people out there that want to help you and want the best for you and that are clapping for you. And you just have to remind yourself that. And the people that aren't, blinders on. I feel like I'm building with, a little sprinkle of what's the competition doing, but blinders,
That is, for anybody who's building right now, that right there, that advice is gold. Because I think when we don't have those blinders on, it can take our eye off the ball and then it sets us back. And that can impact revenue, it could impact opportunity, and it could also impact our own gratitude in the process. Like you have to go through it to get through it,
Well, we've had these phone calls of like, Cris, everything's, terrible. And she's like, get off Instagram.
I'm like digital detox, honey.
Of great things. And one of my favorite things to do, everyone, if maybe you don't, maybe it's a little woo-woo, I actually have a gratitude journal that I write in every single morning. And it's something that can be so simple. 5 things that I'm really grateful for, whether it's like locking in a big client or waking up every day, having a slow morning, having a delicious coffee, things like that, where you can't continue to manifest more, ask for more, want for more, if you're not already grateful for what is currently in your life. And I stay in gratitude every day. I know how fortunate and privileged I am, but also it took a lot of freaking hard work to get to where I am as well. But I feel like sitting in gratitude and, really, again, staying optimistic and open, but that's really helped me too. Yeah.
And for anyone who might be navigating this or a similar situation, can we get a little technical on what questions you're asking differently now, or what boundaries that exist now? Maybe specific examples. Testing. We're back. I would just end up yelling to the crowd. We don't have to worry. You're never going to not have to hear my voice. But what questions are you asking now, either in the vetting process? Are you asking yourself questions? Like, how are you navigating this with a different lens?
Yeah, I think it all goes to, what do I need in my business? What is this person going to be doing for me in this business? Asking questions. So like, again, going back to my agency time of, tell me about a time that you've done this really successfully. Have people showing up that are immediately showcasing value in what they can do for you and your business. And, I think that, again, contracts, timelines, clear and deliverable specifics, even for corporate contracts. It's like, this is the job that I'm being hired to do. And I work with a lot of founders, a lot of scrappy startups where I know this like cliche of like, you're gonna wear a lot of hats in here. Okay, great. I mean, but you have to, if you're getting hired in for that, you have to know like, this is the culture, this is the company. So I think it's being very direct, very straightforward, asking, what's the value that you're going to bring, but also trusting myself to be like, okay, Meghan, do you need to invest in this right now? You see all these things that you want to do with your business long term, and you also have to be careful to not take on too much. I mean, I'm bootstrapping a lot of my tech build, which, between bootstrapping and investing, I mean, we're almost at $1 million that we put into CONCÉ. I know, I mean, especially the bootstrapping part. But if there's anything you guys need to know about me, I'm really good at making money. So I'm really terrible sometimes at asking people for money. But I'm like, pitch decks. That's something, the pitch deck. That's something that was, oh my God, I threw myself in that fire of like pitching in front of people, getting in really scary rooms. But at the end of the day, it's like, focusing in on the things that I love to do and what I could control. I think that it's amazing how far we can come when we believe in ourselves and just get very clear, very specific, very direct, and protect your money, protect everything at all costs, truly. I have to, I have no choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And CONCÉ is built around curation and intentionality, not just for the sake of scale, but how much of that philosophy came from lessons learned and how much came from becoming clear on the kind of community and people you wanted around you?
Yeah, I mean, companies need better access to talent and professionals need better access to jobs. So, I mean, that's really where this became, this moment where actually Cris was with me almost, 3 years ago to the date, where I sat in a mastermind and I was around so many amazing women like Allie Webb, Jacqueline Johnson, women that have exited their businesses for multi-million dollars. And I'm this like, I have a recruiting business. I'm kind of a career coach. And I was like, Meghan, claim it, girl. Like, what do you want to do with your life? What's next? And I'm like, holy cow. Hiring and recruiting, like it's a mess, it's broken, and for so many years, like wearing myself out and draining myself out of the process, like, the fact of the matter is, again, like hiring and recruiting is never going away. And to be able to provide a technology and a resource, professionals can show up. I mean, we're talking to Zant to bring coaching onto the platform, to have this like one-stop shop for all things professionals, while also having data and hiring intelligence that companies can use to be able to say, this is why we believe this individual is going to be a fit, scoring, dynamic scoring, interview prep for companies. I mean, if you are a brand and you don't, or a hiring manager or a business owner, and you don't think that how you navigate an interview process has a direct correlation to the reputation of your business, you're doing it all wrong.
The Lulu.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because nobody wants to come into an organization and, be able to have 2 or 3 interviews, and every interview that someone's scattered or a CEO is like 15 minutes late. And I mean, that's your time you maybe took off from work or otherwise, so really to organize the interview process, to get executives feeling so confident and having technology that supports their hiring decisions while having professionals out there walking the streets, like, at any given moment, Cris, what do you do? And you're like, and go. For someone that's been pitching for years and years now too, it's like, again, to harness that confidence. I'm just so excited to see what the future holds, because we need a change. Something needs to change, and it is. So welcome to CONCÉ, the future of hiring intelligence.
I love it. Yes. All right, well, one final question. For the women sitting in this room who feel disappointed, taken advantage of, or unsure of who to trust in business right now, what's the one thing that you wish someone had said to you?
I mean, I guess it goes back to people are going to show you who they really are, and just believe them. I know I keep saying it, but, I think in this day and age of, so many friends and individuals that have businesses that we want to support and help. Like, guys, not everyone is right for you and not right for your business. So it's the diligence now around how I'm really vetting people and asking better questions and trusting myself and knowing, like, Meghan, you don't have to say yes to that person because that's the cool person to be working with right now. It's like, who is the best person for your business? So I think like that really is something that I wish, I had a better process with early on, but you know what? You live and you learn. And as much as I can navigate hiring processes, navigating building a tech company, a whole new world. So I'm really proud of how far we've come and the person I've evolved into today. And we're just getting started. So
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
I just have to say, I'm so proud of this woman right here. Well, everyone, please round of applause for Meghan Houle.